Good morning everybody, this is Lara from Pure Elliott Wave with your Monday to Friday update for Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP. If you're not subscribed here, I would recommend you do so that you don't lose my channel, because you want to not miss my Monday to Friday updates, because I've been doing this for 15 years, over a decade now, as a chartered market technician. You're getting my experience, my qualifications and my passion and energy for these markets for free, which is a pretty good deal. If you are subscribed here, thank you so much for your support. I very greatly appreciate it. Please hit the like button and maybe make a comment, even a silly comment below, because all of your engagement helps my little YouTube channel grow. Today, I'm going to have a look at how extreme at the weekly time frame ADX and RSI can get for Bitcoin, and I want to do that because currently RSI is reasonably overbought. Having a quick look at the weekly chart, it's very obviously an upward trend in place because there's a series of high highs and higher lows. That's your basic definition of an upward trend. We've had a higher high and so far we've still got higher lows. In order for that trend to be broken, we'd need to see a lower low and then a lower high. So far, price is still finding support at 41,100. Expect it to hold until it does not. If price breaks below support here, expect next support of 35,000. If price can move higher, we'll expect possibly some resistance at 48,000, although it's not particularly strong. If price can break through that, there's a bit of resistance at 51,800, and then there's quite a bit of white space until we get up to the all-time high 68,700. I am aware that there are problems with this crypto compare data. Other data sources do show a decline in volume from May 2023 on the weekly time frame, but not as much as crypto compare has. However, what is accurate, and I will take from this, is that from the low back in May 2023, price has been increasing with push from volume. So the volume profile for the short to mid-term is bullish, and this is exactly what I would expect to see for a new bull run. ADX tells us there is an upward trend at the weekly time frame, but it's not extreme yet. RSI is overbought. It's fairly deeply overbought. The higher the time frame, the more concerning when conditions get extreme. The lower the time frame, extreme conditions, you're looking for a more short-term pullback or consolidation. But at this time frame, let's see how extreme can we get. Let's do RSI first. The first major high we should consider is June 2011. This is the end of the first big parabolic growth phase for Bitcoin. So the first big bubble forms and then it crashes. We see an absolutely huge crash down to the November 2011 low. So it went from $31.91 to $1.99. So in June 2011, Bitcoin had previously exhibited extreme overbought RSI, and there was bearish divergence because it began very deeply overbought. If you had expected a big crash then in January 2011, the high was only 95 cents. You would have absolutely missed out on the end of the parabolic growth phase. At the end, RSI is deeply overbought and there's only bearish divergence with the very start. So the lesson to be taken here is just because it gets deeply overbought and exhibits bearish divergence doesn't mean the parabolic growth phase has to end and there's going to be a big crash. Fast forward to the next major high, November 2013, when it reached 1,241.92. It reached deeply overbought all the way back here in August 2012, really early on in the parabolic growth phase, and then it reaches even more deeply overbought in March 2013, and the high here was $95.70. But of the eventual high over 1,241, and there was bearish divergence. So here, back in March 2013, just because it was extremely deeply overbought and had been for many weeks, doesn't mean that the bubble has to burst, the parabolic growth is going to end, and there's going to be a huge crash. Here's a really important high, December 2017, and notice that there was no bearish divergence at this time frame between price and RSI, and RSI reached really deeply overbought in January 2016. The high here is $776.04, and the eventual high, the end of this parabolic growth phase, just under 19,900, pretty close to 20,000 when Bitcoin was making massive headlines globally and no bearish divergence. So again, the lesson has to be learned. Just because RSI reaches deeply overbought doesn't mean the parabolic growth phase is ending or near to ending. In fact, it can happen really, really early on in these phases. Now at the all-time high, there was really strong bearish divergence, but RSI had reached deeply overbought very early on in this bullish run back in June 2019, when the high was 13,796. The eventual high in November 2021, just under 69,000, and this is the first time it's exhibited really strong bearish divergence. That's probably been resolved now after a year-long bear market, and at the low, RSI reached oversold and then exhibited really strong bullish divergence. So we've got the opposite situation here, and now we've got a bullish run. RSI is now reasonably deeply overbought, but again, we see that this can happen really early on in a strong bullish run for this market. So not a cause for concern for my overall analysis at all. In fact, normal to be expected behavior. Let's have a look and see how extreme ADX can get. The first high, deeply, deeply extreme bullish trend, very, very extreme, over 80. And the next high up in 2013 reaches very, very extreme, close to 80 in April 2013. The eventual high was not until November. So the high in April, $166, an eventual high in November 2013, 1,241. So ADX can tell us the trend is very extreme, well before the trend is ready to end. And you see this, I wouldn't call it bearish divergence, but you do see a weaker trend reading at the end. That's normal to be expected behavior. December 2017, it didn't reach as extreme. And again, we see a not as extreme trend right at the end. And so the most extreme reading for this bullish run was February 2017. Price was at 1,291 for the high. And then the eventual high, the end of that bullish run in December 2017, 19,870. What about the all-time high? It told us the trend was very extreme, not as extreme as it did in that first bullish run. Remember, it got to over 80. Here it's over 65. In April 2021, the high here, 64,863. And then at the very end, 68,780. ADX only just told us there was a trend, and it wasn't very extreme. So I'll expect the trend at the very end to be indicated as not as extreme as earlier on, but we can see very, very extreme readings from ADX, and it's not at the end. So the two lessons to be learned here: just because these two indicators are telling us they're extreme doesn't mean the bullish run has to end, and don't count on seeing bearish divergence between price and RSI, because you might not. Very quickly, daily technicals for Bitcoin. Support at 41,100 is still holding. Price is falling of its own weight. Volume declines as price falls. Well, price is essentially really moving sideways, so there's a consolidation now. For on-balance volume, we can start to draw some trend lines. I've drawn a resistance line in yellow that's got some technical significance. Not great, but it is horizontal, so there's reasonable significance there. A purple support line has reasonable technical significance. It's got multiple tests and it's long held, but it does have a strong slope. So as price consolidates sideways, I'll continue to adjust these trend lines from on-balance volume and wait for a signal. For Ethereum, I still have two Elliott Wave counts. This is the main Elliott Wave count, and it now has a higher probability, and the alternate is further reducing in probability. That's because this trend channel that contains this impulse from the low to the high that I'm labeling minute wave 1 has now been breached by two full red daily candlesticks below and not touching this trend line, telling us there's most likely been a trend change from up to down for the short to mid-term. I'll expect downward movement to continue and most likely to find support about 2018.35. This Elliott Wave count is an alternate, and it now doesn't have as good a look because this base channel, well, close to a base channel, is now breached. Lower degree second wave corrections should usually find support or resistance in the bear market at the edge of the base channel opposite to the trend, and here Minuet 2 has not found support here. It's clearly breached the channel. This wave count will be invalidated if we see a new low below 2019.91, but today the probability of it is much lower. For the very short term for Ethereum, it's still finding support at 2,100. There was strong resistance here in the formation of this ascending triangle. It was followed by a breakout found resistance at 2,400, which was what was expected, a pullback to test support here, here, and here. So far, support is holding. Expect support to hold until it gives way. If we see a close below 2,100, then look out for next support at 1880. For XRP, I also have 2 Elliott Wave counts. I had judged this to be most likely, but today it's been invalidated, and this is how I use alternate wave counts. This wave count is now invalidated because 2 may not move beyond the start of 1, even a fraction of a cent on a tick chart. So this is now wrong, and so we switch to the alternate, the next in order of probability. And so now, with the main Elliott Wave count invalidated, I'll expect more downward movement, and I'll expect it probably to find support at the 54-55 cent mark, but if it gets a bit lower, then 0.5388. However, all we actually need now for this wave count to be complete for minor wave 2 is for C to move beyond the end of A to avoid a truncation, and it's already done that. But in order for it to have the right look, I'd expect a new low below this low, 0.5746. That would see C move beyond the price territory of B. Talking about a truncation only involves third and fifth waves and A and C waves. C doesn't have to move beyond the price territory of this flat correction for minute wave B in order to avoid a truncation. It only needs to move beyond the end of A. But it would be more likely for it to make a new price extreme in order for it to have the right look. So I don't think it's really going to get as low as 0.5388, maybe about the 55-56 cent range. So it might end possibly this week or early next week with just a little bit more downward movement. At the daily time frame for XRP, support still holding at 58 cents. That would need to give way in order for a test of the 54-55 cent area, and that is a really strong area of support, so I'm not expecting lows below 55 cents much, if at all. There's a bullish long lower wick developing here, but we did see that develop on the 13th of December. This is almost a hammer candlestick pattern, but it's in the context of a consolidation. So I didn't read that as a bullish reversal pattern. I won't read this as a reversal pattern, it's not, but I will note there is a bullish long lower wick developing around support at 58 cents. So we might see a little green candlestick tomorrow and a little bit more work to happen before price could break below 58 cents. Which I now expect is most likely. Volume is pushing price lower today, although overall as price moves sideways, volume is declining. That's normal behavior for a consolidation. For the very short term, a little bit of a push from volume suggests maybe a bit more downward movement ahead. ADX is declining and it's now getting really close to 15. It's going to move below 15, turn around and come up and give us the strongest signal ADX can give. So that's exciting. I'm really pleased to see that this is setting itself up for a new strong signal. That's it from me today with your quick update. I hope everyone had a lovely weekend, and I hope you're looking forward to a fantastic week.